welcome to Awkward Conversations. We are
Welcome.
very nice. We are Seth and Silly Sandra Dunn. I'm always excited to shoot these videos because the concept is we find these awkward topics and we bring them out for conversation, and because they're things that deserve to be talked about. This one is intriguing to me. I'm curious to see where it goes because this was posed to us as a question, I believe. Do you remember how we got this topic? It doesn't matter. So what do you do when either you are a person who has to be right all the time, or you are dealing with people that just have to be right all the time?
You know who you are.
This one is maybe that's why I'm excited, maybe because it's a little nosy.
I used to be that, for sure.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
You had to be right.
Don't you remember that?
I mean, I think
that's why I was so argumentative.
this is where some awkward thoughts can come up. I think this is very generalized, and so I realize it's extremely dangerous. But I think in general, women tend to feel more like they are right than men do.
Wow. I know a ton of women who would say men are that way.
Well, I know, and I'm not saying there aren't men that way.
No, I don't. Just think you can't say that. I I think it is.
Well,
purely, I bet if you could actually analyze this, it would be 50-50.
And you might be right.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
I'm right.
There you go. There you go. I find, to me, as I've been thinking about this topic.
Yeah.
First, I'm like, I guess I don't recall there being a lot of stress between us because you always had to be right. I'm thinking back on that.
I remember you saying, especially when we were dating, why do you always have to play devil's advocate? Why do you need to be right?
Oh, well,
I'm not going to fight with you. That did it.
Well, yeah.
Because I was like, no.
Oh, but you
right.
genuinely had a need to be right. It wasn't being devil's advocate.
Well, of course, I like playing devil's advocate.
Well, that's what I would have thought.
But I remember my dad and I had this quote that we would always say. We always agreed with each other. He and I always thought this. You know, those people who think they're right all the time are so annoying to those of us who actually are.
Okay. There you go.
I am not that way anymore.
Right.
I'm very,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe this, maybe that. I almost sometimes feel like I'm too.
Oh, interesting.
But, yeah.
But to me, this topic is an interesting one because I do think there are genuinely people who are right more often than others.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And of course that could be on specific topics, but I do just think there are those people that they're just very, I don't know exactly how to say this, but I've met some people over the years that I'm like, wow, you are just a very naive person, would be my way of seeing it. Like how they see things or their lack of understanding of things and how things work. I'm just dumbfounded sometimes. Well, a person like that can't be right very often.
Right. Yeah.
Where a person that is just aware of the world and how it works and how it functions, and they're aware of people, and they're learning and they're growing constantly, and they're just right more often.
There are people that I just won't engage with because I know they're probably right. They just are. Okay. Right. So there are those people.
I hadn't thought of that angle, but
who are just tend to be accurate about things more often. My kids, both of my kids are that way. Where it's like I'm not going to argue with you about some technical issue because I know you're probably right. Now I will argue day and night about certain things, maybe spiritual things, or the way people are built, characteristics, kinds of things. I will argue that for sure because I have a good understanding of how people work.
Sure.
But if you're talking about the weather, if you're talking about grammar, if you're talking about politics, if you're talking whatever.
Right. That's interesting.
Let's talk about that need to be right.
Yeah. Like when it's a thing in you just have to be right.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, there could be a few different things at play. I think it could be ego. I think it could just be insecurity. I think it could be, actually, I think it probably normally comes from a point of weakness. That you feel like this is where I'm getting my identity, maybe would be a way to say it. That I gain value, I feel important, I feel significant. I get that sense of worth from being right, and therefore I'm going to fight for it even when. Sometimes I wonder when I'm with a person like that, do they even know maybe at that point, I'm not right here, but I'm going to fight that I am, because otherwise I lose face, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's some of what can be at play. And, over the years, I mean, I've had not very often, but a time or two, I've had a person say to me, it's just like you always have to be right. And I'm like, for me, internally, when I've heard that a time or two over the years, I've thought, oh, okay, that's interesting, because I think I do come across confident and I come across with opinions, but rarely would I be in a spot personally where I'm like, oh, I have to be right here in order to save face, or I'm just not. But I do come across with strong opinions and ideas. And there are plenty of times where you may have your idea and opinion and I'll say, well, it's not how I see it. So I think we have to, sometimes we don't necessarily know why a person's standing their ground.
Right. I just think it's important to not be that person, because
I agree.
the reality is, when you are that person, whether it's from ego, pride, weakness, I think, I don't know this, but I would encourage this question.
Okay.
For ourselves, for others.
Yeah.
Why can't I be wrong?
Oh, good. Yeah.
Like, if I need to be right in this situation, why can't I be wrong?
That's a good,
Well, because if I'm wrong, then this. Okay, and why that? Well, this. You know what I mean? Like, follow that down, because chances are pretty good when you get to the root of it. Yeah. There's a fear there. That
I think that's fair.
Often why people can't be wrong, because there's this fear of, if I'm wrong, then I might be wrong about this, I might be wrong about this, I might be wrong about this. Or there's this fear of, if I'm wrong, people can take advantage of me, people can hurt me, people can, whatever. And so I just often think that for a lot of people, and I don't know this for you personally, but I would say, like, ask that question, why can't I be wrong right now? Yeah. What is it that I'm afraid of? What is it that I don't want to let go of? What is it, like, what's the problem? Because I think if you'll ask that question and you'll follow it down and keep asking why and follow that to the root, I think you'll discover some things about yourself that will help you go, oh, wow, okay. And it will help open up some doors for you, because here's the reality. When we're that stubborn, I would say being right is a very stubborn characteristic.
I would say
if somebody says you're stubborn, you probably have this need to be right thing going on. But when we're stubborn like that, when we have this need to be right, we just literally are building cages for ourselves. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but that sounds terrible to me.
And we're causing a lot of pain.
Do not want to be stuck in a cage. Right. And when I'm stubborn, when I need to be right, I'm just, you can just hear that wasn't very good metal clanking, but metal clanking is what's going on in my head. I'm just creating that cage for myself, which does not bring me joy, does not help me, does not help anyone else. It becomes a lonely place to be.
Well, it does. You're shutting your friends out. You're hurting other people. You're pushing people away. You're causing a lot of pain for other people and for yourself. In doing all that.
Yeah, I just think it's important to consider. Now, I also think it's important not to have your mind so open. There's a quote. You have such an open mind that your brains fall out. Like, I'm not suggesting that you have such an open mind that you have no standards, that you have no place to, no guidelines. There are things that it's good to be right about. My faith, I'm right. You will not convince me of anything other than God loves me. Jesus came and gave his life for me. God's made a way for me to be in relationship with him and to have a beautiful eternity. Like, those are 4 things that I'm right. I will not I
And
will not bend on
veer from that.
because I've figured, I've done the work, I've done the study, I've figured it out. I've looked at other religions, I've looked at being an atheist, I've looked, so I am all for being right on things that actually matter. But that's the problem is there's so many things that we think we need to be right about, and it doesn't matter.
They don't really matter.
It doesn't matter if winter comes in October, in September, or if winter comes in November.
This is a debate we have in our family. When is winter? You know, and I want to bring you back though, because I think you made a fabulous point there. You don't want to be so open-minded. I'm going to say it a tiny bit different, but you don't want to be so open-minded that your brains fall out. No, so open-minded that you're too easily swayed and led in wrong ways. But also the problem is a bit of a dichotomy here. If you're not open-minded, you can't grow and learn.
Exactly.
Right? So there's an element of not being, if you are one of these people that just has to be right all the time, I would ask yourself, how's it going for you? Because probably what's happening is you're getting stuck in ways she just described. You're not growing, you're not learning, and you probably aren't having great relationships. Let me ask you this question. Has there ever been a time where I said to you, oh, I'm wrong here? And maybe it is that you're right, or I just admit that I'm wrong in this particular thing. Has there been a time where I've admitted to you that, oh wow, I'm wrong here? What did that do for you in that moment? What was the experience like?
Well, it's funny because I'm not particularly very swayed by people's responses or whatever, so that's hard for me to like I'm thinking about one thing in particular where you said, I think I need to rethink that, and I think you might be right about that. It was like, okay, cool.
Did you
congratulations.
Well, right, but did you disrespect me at that point? Did you think, well, what an idiot? What did you think about me in that moment? Again,
I just was like, oh, well, cool.
Like,
there wasn't, oh, I'm so proud of him, or, oh, I love that he's willing to rethink that, or there was none of that. And I don't know if that's a flaw in me. Sometimes I think I am, I don't know, not properly attached. I don't know. So, no, I don't think, but I certainly didn't, lose respect.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't really have necessarily a goal as far as specific answers. I just thought maybe it'd be interesting to have a dialogue like that in front of everyone, just because I think I can't imagine. Listen, I know that there's lots of people on this earth and we're built different and we have our own dysfunctions and so forth. So I can't say this would never happen, but I think most of the time when you're in a reasonably healthy relationship, whether it's husband, wife, or even at work or whatever, most of the time when a person goes, oh, that needs rethought, or you clearly are open to not just being stuck in how you were, most people are going to see that in a positive light of some kind.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy for people, gosh, maybe I'm making an assumption here, but I think if you're a person that's like, I have to be right, it's because you're gaining something from that, and it's probably not healthy, and you're probably thinking people are respecting you for it, and the reality is that's just the opposite is happening.
Yeah, usually.
I don't want, there have been times where I've had employees, I'm not saying I've let them go for this reason, but if an employee who is in this bent, they always have to be right. If they're no longer employed by me, that doesn't hurt my feelings normally.
Right, yeah.
The person that has made themselves more valuable is the person who is a team player, who is willing to learn, who is willing to grow, who does honor and respect other people's ideas.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mind if they're a strong personality and have their own ideas and their own thoughts and they're expressing them. I like all that. Yes. As long as it's also in this environment of, oh, wait, yeah, but that's a good idea too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought I'd point that out because maybe that helps somebody if you're...
Yeah.
I really think if you'll stop and be honest, you just kind of said this, I'll say it a little different. If you have to be right all the time, I think you're causing yourself a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, and messing your life up.
Yes.
To be honest.
I think about the people I know who
that's okay.
have that need to be right.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating because they can't be swayed on anything. They can't be
Well,
swayed on any belief. They can't be able to see something different. Therefore, they can't grow. They can't change. They can't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, it's just so sad that somebody like that is so stuck that they can't. I'm like,
yeah, that is sad.
You know, there's situations I'm thinking of right now that I'm like, man, if you would just relinquish that poor me, and some of it, and this is interesting, I hadn't thought about this, but this victim mentality.
Right.
And I don't know what of that is connected to. Now, I'm not saying there's something wrong with being a victim. If you're actually a victim, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you have a victim mentality, that's entirely different. You know, like
it is.
If you've been a victim of abuse or theft or whatever, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people who have had a really good life and they still have this belief of that, you know, poor little old me. My parents used to call it plum disease. Oh, you've got plum disease, huh? And I'm like, yeah, poor little old me. And yes, that's exactly what I got.
Your parents had some good ones.
So, you know, I'm just thinking about those people that you're just like, man, you're so stuck in being right and that you can't move past that. And I don't know that connection. I haven't thought through that connection. Now I'm going to want to. Is there a connection between that need to be right and a victim mentality?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. And I don't know. I just had a thought too that I think it's worth bringing up that I think I can make fit here. There are people out there that are kind of on the opposite side of this, and I don't know. Maybe you feel like you're right, but you're quiet about it.
Oh yeah.
Right, and so
those quiet, stubborn people.
Well, right, and that probably is equally as damaging, even though it's not showing up as overtly. Because if you're constantly walking out of situations going, well, you know, that idiot.
They don't know what they're talking about.
They don't know what they're talking about. They saw it, but you never speak up. Yeah, you're probably doing the same thing. The other thing that could be happening here is maybe you don't have a need to be right, but you never express your opinions. Well, I think everybody should express some opinion. You know, I don't know. That's a nuance or something here that doesn't need to be in this conversation necessarily. But I do think that quiet, I'm right person probably needs to be honest with themselves too. There might be more of those out there than we know. I don't know. If you are stubborn, if you are the I need to be right, you might want to just find out why. You might want to just ask yourself, why is this so strong in me? What am I afraid of? Yeah.
What do I need to see differently? And
I think even just learning to appreciate growth and learning. You know, like I have come to the point where I'm like, when I see that I'm wrong in an area, it almost excites me because I'm like, well, what is there to learn here then? Yeah. There's probably something to learn here. Yeah. And that can be in every area of life. I mean, that could be in relationships and how to be in a good relationship. It could be how to fix an engine. I have a lawnmower right now that is driving me buggy because I cannot quite seem to figure out how to fix its problem. Yeah. And I'm like, I just don't see something accurately here. I would love to figure out where I'm wrong, where I'm seeing it wrong, because I'm not seeing it right or I get it fixed. Yeah. See, that's a stupid example.
It's a very practical.
But it's a very practical one. I'm like, I clearly am not seeing this right. Yeah. I am seeing this wrong. I would love to see it right so I can fix it. Yep. And the same thing could be true in a relationship or could be true with finances or whatever.
But that desire, the proverb that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Yeah. And there's a couple areas in my life that I'm like, I feel like I've been ready for a long time and I haven't found a teacher. But you just keep waiting and you keep that open heart of like, I know I'm missing something here. I'm not seeing what I need to see. And staying
such a good place
in that
to be there.
position as opposed to this position of blame and frustration and anger and because that's the option. Right. I can either sit here and go, I see my stuff, I see their stuff, and I can be mad about their stuff and be angry at them for not getting it together, not getting it right, whatever. Or I can go, what's my part What do I need to see here?
Yeah.
And again, if I'm stubborn, if I have this need to be right, I can't ever open myself up to that. I can't ever soften
That's so good.
myself to see what I
Yeah,
need
you
to
can't.
see.
Right.
And in doing
Yeah.
that, I'm never going to improve what I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
So if I actually want to improve and I actually want to grow, it's going to require me to soften myself, to open myself up to a new idea, to something different.
So you're saying that being wrong certainly can be a beautiful thing.
Being wrong is a gift. It's why I say there is no failure.
What a great way to look at it.
There is education, there's learning, there's no failure. There's this idea of like, oh, this is a gift to me to help me see what I need to see about myself, to grow and
That's
improve.
so good. That's so good.
So it's okay for me to be wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
Man.
and that has been
That's
one
so
of the
good.
best lessons I feel like I've learned in life, is like that ability to go, yeah, you're right, I'm wrong. What do I need to see here?
Yeah. Man, if you're one of those people that just does need to be right all the time, I hope you can embrace this. I hope we can encourage you that, it's some pretty simple and yet powerful adjustments. And I think you just described it very well. Maybe rewind and re-listen to what she just unpacked there, because just a really very simple and yet the result very powerful adjustment. Realizing that I'm not failing, or I'm not losing face, or I'm not of no value simply because I don't see something right, just because I'm wrong. It's actually a beautiful moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I can engage in discovering, how do I want to see it?
Yeah.
That discovery process is a beautiful thing for us.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely.
That's good. Well, I hope
May
that's
you
been helpful.
be wrong today.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's our wish.
May you be, that's our wish.
That you may be wrong, and that you may be
embrace it.
willing to admit that.
Embrace
and
it well.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I hope that's been helpful. I think it's a good thing, to have talked about. So there you go. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Hello, we're glad you have been enjoying our awkward conversations. We enjoy shooting them. We would invite you to like, subscribe, ring the bell, ask questions, give us more topics.
Yeah, for sure.
So many things you can do to interact with us, and we appreciate that, and we are reading your comments, and we appreciate them very much. So thank you very much. See you soon.